So Sai, when he planned the program, he wanted us to share some experiences also with this. And it is always a joy to talk about Swami. I also want to mention many of the kids who were there last night, so wonderfully talented. And they really, they gave us so much love and energy. And I'm really thankful for that opportunity to have spent time yesterday with these wonderfully talented children in your center. And I also wanted to continue with the theme where I think we briefly talked about how Bhagawan is everywhere and listens to your innermost prayers and responds. And yesterday, for some of you were not there, so I made repeat a little incident. I think it really captures a devotee and the Lord's relationship. My parents, they became Swami's devotees in early 70s. When they went to Puttaparthi, Swami, it was interesting actually. When my father, before he became devotee, he made some comments about Bhagawan. When he heard about Bhagawan, he said something that was not respectful of Swami. And it was just a comment he made because somebody made a comment about Swami, and so he made another comment which really was not respectful to Bhagawan. So when they finally end up going to Puttaparthi, Swami calls them for an interview, and my father says the first sentence Swami talked to him was, "Why did you use those words when you talked about me in that club that you were?" And he said, when you abuse or disrespect God, it is a sin whether you do it knowingly or unknowingly. And he said, if you put your finger in fire, knowingly or unknowingly, it will burn. I think that's how Bhagavan teaches us. We don't need to judge anybody. The only relationship we have is us and Bhagavan. And Swami doesn't want us to, start comparisons and look into this peer pressure of devotion. These are all irrelevant when what Swami teaches. So my father came back to the town that we lived, and I can talk probably hours on that, because in that little town that we lived, Bhagavan's glory was felt in every home, with his presence, with his vibhutis, with his letters, with his physical presence that people have seen in that little town. But I want to really focus on the message from yesterday, which is, again, we're all trying to reach the Bhagavan that is inside us and stay connected with that. And sometimes this little instances where we participate in a satsang helps us, and it's all our responsibility and we do it, but it might support your efforts in staying connected to Swami. So in that context, I wanted to narrate these experiences. So Swami gave many interviews to my father, and I also want to say the incident that I narrated yesterday, but it's a wonderful incident to show how everything that God does is perfect and there's no randomness, and is also planned. So my parents stayed there for about a month in Puttaparthi in 70s. Then Swami used to, sometimes he would carry the basket of vibhuti packets, but sometimes he would, have somebody else carry. But he would just put put his hand inside. In fact, I carried that basket for Swami one time too. And Swami just puts his hand and he pulls some vibhuti packets and gives. And over the 1 month time frame, in the many interviews, every time you do namaskaram, Swami gives some vibhuti packets. Before, my father said, Swami, we are leaving back to our town. And Swami said, here, 100th one. So he gives one vibhuti packet. And what appears to be a random act of pulling vibhuti is also precise and, in fact, planned from Bhagawan. It's very hard to understand Swami from the stage of staying below the mind. And much of the sadhana we do is really only starts when you transcend the mind. And the effort we put is to make the mind transparent. Swami calls it purity. When you transcend the mind, that's when you're really doing sadhana. Anyway, Swami's teachings are so wonderful, so profound. We can spend hours and hours on that. But I wanted to go back to this same story. So when my father came back, he used to play Veena at home every morning. And at 4 o'clock, he would do Omkar Suprabhat and then play Veena. Then he would continue with the rest of his daily activities. So one day he thought, well, I'm not a professional musician. Not that Swami listens to my Veena. Not that Swami even really cares for my Veena, even if he hears. So he thought, well, I'm not going to play. So he puts his Veena on the side. Then he continues with his daily activities. And that evening, and we witnessed this. This is the first miracle that I have seen in my life that is etched in my memory. And I was 4 years at the time. And when we went to Bhajan, we did these 3 Omkars. After the 3rd Omkar, there was a vibhuti packet that fell from the top of Swami's photograph, and it just fell. And somebody goes, picks it up, and then it was written Veera, and then there was a Veena image on that. And I opened the vibhuti packet, and in that Swami wrote, Veerabhadraiah ni Veena vintuna, which is translation for Veerabhadraiah, I'm listening to your Veena. So what transpires in your mind is known to the Divine Lord all the time because he resides in our hearts. Though the physical presence of Swami, I dare not say the word, but it was a little confusing because when the entire divinehood condenses itself into 5 feet, it's very hard to comprehend what it means. But he came to show an example, and when you take the Swami's example and Swami's teachings and Swami's experiences, and you form this wonderful, wonderful Swami, actually you access this wonderful Swami that is in your heart. So now fast forward a few years, I was in Puttaparthi for my 11th and 12th and degree. So when I joined Puttaparthi, we didn't really realize the weather patterns in Puttaparthi because we came from near Hyderabad. It was a lot colder in Puttaparthi. And I didn't realize that. And the way we lived was a mat and a pillow and a blanket was your bed, essentially. So one day at 5 in the morning, I really felt really cold. And I was shivering, but I didn't want to, there's nothing to do really, You shiver and then you warm up your body, essentially. And I felt uncomfortable. So that this is at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's not like I told anybody. Okay, so you can guess where it is going. So I fall asleep back again and then go to Mandir. And I was playing Veena. Swami gently walks to the window in the bhajan hall. Then he looks at me, he calls me, and he gives a blanket. So with Bhagawan, you don't have to ask, you have to feel. When you feel, he gets it. Sometimes it may appear as it takes time. But you cannot, I always say this example, you cannot go to a doctor and say, write me penicillin. If you're so good and so knowledgeable about your own body and your medicine, you apparently don't need a doctor. Which is what we generally do to God. We go to God and we say, God, I have this problem, here is a solution. And God is thinking, now what am I supposed to do? He has a problem, he has a solution. What is my role in this? You go to doctor and you tell your problems. We go to our divine Lord, we tell our problems. He finds the best course of the medicine that fits you. I want to narrate one more, because as I said, we can talk for hours. I want to narrate one more incident, which Swami really taught me. You have to be qualified to receive the answer. I'll explain what I mean by that. One time, I've asked Swami, there are two instances, but I'll narrate one of them. One time, I had a telegram from my father, saying that mother is on deathbed, pray to Swami. We didn't have a telephone at home, and I didn't know what it meant. And I was really deeply, sad. So I take the telegram, I sit in front row, and was expecting Swami to come and listen to my sad story and pacify me. And Swami walks, this beautiful darshan, he comes out of the door, he stands there, he walks, he doesn't even look at me. I don't think I cried like that ever. I thought, the only refuge I have is you. And when I really, really need, you are not there for me. That's how I felt. And I cried. I couldn't see Swami. My eyes were fully, filled with tears, and I didn't want to raise my head. When Swami came back, I didn't want to raise my head. Then Swami, he goes in the VIP veranda. Then from really distance, very long, right from the behind the hall, he yells for me. He said, "Hey, Dhurjati." Then I thought somebody else is calling me. I said, "Hey, shut up, man. Swami is outside." That's what I told him. And they said, "Hey, Swami is calling you." And I turn back and I go to Swami. And then Swami created vibhuti for my mother. And he said, "Mother has angina. She'll be all right. Send her this." Then I contemplated on this whole episode. When I sat in front of the door with the telegram, I had the problem, you had the solution, you could have given it to me. Why did I have to go through all this crying? The real answer that I got is, I was not prepared for the answer. Your heart really has to be softened. Only then the God's love drenches into you. Think about it. If you have a sponge which is soft, it absorbs water. Your heart has to be softened. And that's why Swami says, do seva. That's why Swami gives us troubles, so that you can actually massage your heart so that it becomes soft enough and absorptive enough to take Swami's love in its fullest grandeur. And we can talk for hours on this wonderful Swami that he is. And when Swami left his body, it was for people, obviously, it was painful to realize that, we can't access Swami anymore. But the question to ask is, where could he have gone? Is there a place where he does not exist? If he went to a place where he doesn't exist, he is not God. He came from everywhere, and he continues to be everywhere. You reach out to Swami in your heart, he responds actually he sits and waits. One time Swami said in discourse, he said, the number of devotees I have, I can count on one hand. That's what he said. It is hard to be a devotee to Swami without controlling mind. And this is a journey that all of us are on. And Swami has given us hundreds and hundreds of discourses, vahinis, which are filled with deep, profound spiritual advice, practice, understanding, and path for all of us. Whatever your background may be, whatever your cultural heritage may be, whatever your religion may be. And this is a phenomena that we have to access and utilize fully. So with that, we'll get into a few more bhajans, and then I'll let Brother Muthu also talk, and then, play a wonderful, wonderful solo again. Sai Ram, thank you.